So the other day I saw this clip by Minato, Mass Ningen, and Vilify doing their Slot 1 podcast where they were talking about TURs and their space in Dokkan Battle. And if you listen to nothing else in this video before posting your opinion, if you happen to comment, just hear me now when I say this. It does not matter if I say a character is worth it if you like the character, right? Of course, we get that. We don't need to say it. We don't need to talk about it. We're operating under the assumption that if you like the character a lot, then you should do whatever you want with your currency. But when we're talking in a wider sense about Dokkan, a wider sense about gacha games, which are predatory, that's when we need to use some discernment to be like, well, that literally isn't worth pulling for. Because there's a difference between me pulling on Cell, who's a character I like, and then me telling you Cell is worth pulling for. Cell was not worth pulling for. He's not strong enough compared to the strong characters that actually lead the game of Dokkan Battle, right? Because guess what? If I use 1,000 stones on Cell and I don't pull him, or maybe I use 1,200 stones on Cell and then I pull him, my account has to do 3 or 4 months of saving to make up that deficit, which matters a lot. So again, before we get into this, we're going to go through the characters that released this year and just talk about it. Have there been worthwhile TURs to summon on? I would say less than more. TURs are still in a pretty heinous spot, but if you want to hear the guys over at the Super Slot 1 podcast talk about it, you should go to their video, of course, and let's get into my side of the discourse, I guess. So, starting with Tao, let's just kill a narrative I see happening way too much, and you've probably seen it too. Dokkan is a mission-based game, so you have to pull for even the TURs because you need them for missions. Fucking crazy to say that. Insane to say that. Alright? I don't know if people are just like delirious or something, but it takes like, let's see, from worldwide, which is in about, last year was about August-ish, all the way to the anniversary characters dropping is about 6 months, right? Something like that? Yeah? For you to make up 6 months worth of stones and missions, here we go. No, probably still not it. No, three apiece. Nope, nuh-uh. Nope, yeah, hey, count the easy A's as well. Count the easy A's as well. It's probably, I mean, it's probably somewhere like back here, right? Like, you cannot go around telling yourself that because Dokkan is mission-based, you're missing out on stones by not summoning on these characters. That would literally only be the case if every single time you pulled on a banner, you got them in like 300 stones. Let's just throw a number out there. If you got every single new character in about 300 stones, you could make the argument that you'll make it back in time and that you'll get a bulk of it back on missions, right? Because you needed Tao for mission execution, or you needed Tao for target Goku or something, right? So when we have this weird conversation, also, by the way, not to fucking like belabor the point, but this character is literally on 2, 4, 6, 8, 16, and then like 25 or something like that categories. So let's not like do this song and dance where we're going to comment or, you know, come into this thinking that you for some reason need every new TUR because of missions. It is not true. The bulk of your stones come from literally logging on then logging off. Easy A's, logging off. Easy A's, logging off. Daily rewards, celebration rewards, logging off. They do not fucking come from doing the ticky-tack missions that are attached to these stages. Let's just be, you know, earnest with one another and accept that, right? Most of these Easy A stages can be cleared with characters you'll just pull sort of randomly when pulling on actual valuable banners, right? You can clear most Easy A battle stages with literally the 2 leader characters, because most of them get one shot. All right. So let's not act like that. These red zone missions aren't the things fueling your economy. They look good to get. But clear with 4 youth stones. This 5 stone bit right here is not worth 1,000 stones on Kid Goku's banner. So let's just do that one before we can actually have this talk about character power and account power. Because if I see someone say that Dokkan is mission based and you need the characters to get the stones, I'm gonna lose my mind, because you can visually see that is not true, because you're not making 500 stones when you pull Kid Goku and do 5 youth mission, right? So who was worth it this year? I would say that all of these are LRs. LR EZAs, LRs. I say the first actual worth it TUR, I'm gonna say Glorio. Actually, Glorio is a worthwhile TUR in the landscape that is Dokkan Battle. And it's because Glorio supports just with finality, right? He goes into slot 3, and all allies, regardless of extreme or super, get a ton of benefits to him existing on the team. He doesn't need to do the damage himself. It doesn't matter if he does the damage himself, because his damage is directly correlated to the damage everyone else does, and is everyone else is doing on multiple rotations, right? Even when he's not on rotation, even when he's being floated. So let's say that. I would say that the next most valuable TUR is undoubtedly Kid Goku. The reason is, of course, that he's just a powerhouse. He is one of the strongest TURs we've gotten in years, probably, right? Just flatly. And it seems that Dokkan is aware of when they need to make the low hype characters powerful. You can see this with Tao now. Tao is so much better than Kaioken Goku. Tao is so much more powerful than this guy right here that it doesn't even make sense. And I say this again as someone who pulled on them. But because I budget my stones, my free-to-play stones, because I do not just pull on everything. I'm not pulling on Tao, by the way. I'm not pulling on Tao at all. I'll see you guys at the global celebration. Maybe a part 2. If part 2 is Wrath Broly because he's on mission execution, I'll see you there. But I'm not pulling on Tao. He's not worth it, right? And again, let's just keep belaboring this point because people love this one as their response. If they're your favorite character, or you need to do this to have fun with the game, I'm not telling you how to have fun. I'm telling you how to not get caught in the gacha loop. Because I play Jujutsu Kaisen Phantom Parade, which is not a very generous game. And guess what? The anniversary came around just now. I had to spend my entire JJK Phantom Parade anniversary rerolling. Entire one rerolling. You know, I lost 6 months of progress because I didn't budget my free-to-play stones well. Do you want to feel like that? Because I feel like whenever people have these conversations, they're just like, oh, you should maybe not pull just if you don't want to. And then they don't realize that they're getting fucked. Right? Tons of characters that I don't have, you know. It's people get so they just see the glamour of new and they don't realize that you can ruin your Dokkan account. You can make this game unfun for yourself for months of time, because every stone you see my account has come with time. I'm not buying packs. I'm not buying tickets. I'm not buying, this and that and this. You need to be really careful because you'll sink your account. You'll make your account very boring for months. You won't pull anything for months. And then guess what you're going to do? You're going to blame Dokkan. But it's not Dokkan's fucking fault. It's not Dokkan's fault that you couldn't resist, throwing money at Tao or throwing stones at Tao. That's not Dokkan's fault. You don't need this guy. What does Tao do? Right? What does he do? The game is not moving right now. There hasn't been a hard fight in 4 months, or Let's be fair. It hasn't been a hard new fight in like three months. So what are you pulling for exactly? What does he do for you? And that is what you need to ask yourself. That is what you need to be asking yourself when you pull on in gacha. Because there's this idea that like, well, if I just had Tech Goku here, I would be having more fun. Doing what? They didn't release content with this guy. They didn't release missions that he needs to do. This character sucks. He's on a bunch of categories that all the other Gokus are on. You know what I mean? Like, and again, if he's your favorite, then by all means, that's the white flag. You know, he's your favorite character, pull him, I guess. But if you're someone who's on the fence, why do you feel FOMO for this guy? There's no FOMO here. He doesn't do anything. You're gonna pull this guy and put him in your box, right? The reason you might see me pull on stuff like Golden Week, even though I mean, I just got lucky on hit. I wasn't gonna pull on this Goku at all. I got hit in like 2 or 3 passes, and I was like, I guess I'll just, you know, use some more of my stones because I literally just got this guy so fast. I wanted to do it for a video, but like, this guy was not on my radar at all. If hit was gonna take 500 stones, I never would have got Goku, right? Because what does Goku do? I have 400 carnival, or not carnival. I have 400 Dokkan coins right now, and Kale and Caulifla that turns into Kefla is an incredible TUR EZA. I don't have her. I've got 400 coins right now. I'm just sitting on them because what does she do? I've beaten Festival Battles. I've beaten all the other content. What am I pulling for? What am I spending for? It's just sort of this like trap people get caught in, and it's really unfortunate, right? And I say this as someone, again, I pulled on Cell, and I pulled on Cell because ding ding ding, I love Cell. But if someone were to ask me, should I have pulled on Cell, I'm just going to objectively say no. Because what does he do? Right? This is a purely collector pickup. He doesn't do anything. There's no content that needs him. All of the content that could possibly need him and his best partner, which is this AGL Cell, just beat his fucking ass because this guy needs to dodge. So now I have this Cell who's essentially just like a floating support with his domain because he can't be the big daddy. They didn't give him stacking. They didn't give him enough damage. If they were going to start dropping every TUR and make them hit like Tau, 125 million attack stat, we could have a different conversation. But until then, they gave you a Gogeta for free. They gave you a Vegito for free. You know, like, you should have been saving for Vegito. If you saved for Vegeta, you probably pulled him because there's essentially no way your ass should have been pulling on Namek Vegeta. So you got Vegito, you could then get a Gogeta for free. What the fuck are you pulling for? You know what I mean? Like, as far as TURs go, Glorio, who is going to return on banners over and over and over, and is just a hard support, so he does not need you to like drop a bunch of investment into him. He doesn't need a team to be built around him. He doesn't need perfect situations for him. He's gonna be fine when you eventually pull him. 50%, 3 turns, that's fine. But, you know, we take this back, and I don't want to be this guy because this is a hype character. Again, people love this character. I love this character, but guess what? I skipped him. You know, it's not like I'm not living what I preach. And that's why I think people get fucked up. They go, how could I skip Super Boo? You know what I mean? It's like the anniversary was in like 2 or 3 months, man. Like, why would I want this guy? I don't know. It's unfortunate that we kind of have this weird web of characters that just feel classed out. But like, outside of Easy A's, like, why would you pull for this Heroes character? Let's see a next one. Why would you pull for Slug? Again, unless they're your favorite, then of course you're a special sweet baby child and you can pull on whatever you want. But if you're just someone who is like, I don't really care for Slug, but I want to pull, why? Why would you pull for Roshi? You know, like, we could do this over to why would you pull for this Vegeta, right? TURs. And guess what? In between them, like, we've got, again, Dominant LR, obviously, Dominant LR. We can keep fucking glancing through, and these are all anniversary characters, so I don't want to be that guy who's just like, wow, the anniversary characters are good, right? Because obviously they are. But dominant TUR finally. Here are the last two TURs that I could be like, no duh. I get it. Especially when compared to their actual their LR, that celebration. You did not need this Gohan. But these guys are undeniably stronger than a lot of their competition. Even in the LR space, they're very strong. But as we continue to peel back, right? Like, I don't know. I would just like people to... Oh, here's another bad LR. Here we go. Ribrianne in the worst year of Dokkan is inarguably worse than... I don't know. Let's see. Inarguably worse than... Not worse than Super Trunks. Well, I mean, maybe I'm wrong, maybe... Oh, there we go. Android 21. There you go. Android 21's better than her. But it's like, look where we're going, right? At this point. We're back in 2023 trying to make the argument that you should pull on TURs. Maybe this is just a rant video. Maybe I didn't need to go on for a while, but like I said, the only reason this comes up, the only reason it's important at all is because this is a gacha game and it fucking sucks to be behind in a gacha game. Because the difference between having patience and like having this these limitations on yourself and not is having to reroll your account. And you might say, no, I would never get into that position. You can. I've played gacha before. You can really easily end up bricking your account for months. And the worst feeling in gacha is when you have to get on and save from zero and skip every single thing because you're forced to. Because you have no buffer, because you pull on everything. And you have to watch everything fly you by. Because it's demotivating. It makes you not want to open the app. And when you don't want to open the app, you're not collecting stones. And when you're not collecting stones, you never actually get back to a point where you want to... enjoy the celebrations again. It's a cycle, and the best way to stop the cycle is to cut it off at the pass. You do not need Mercenary Tao, and you really didn't need Super Kaioken and Goku, if I'm being honest. I didn't even really need Hit, because Hit is like okay. I'm worse on Hit than a lot of people. I think he's like pretty strong, not like really strong. If there was one thing I could take back, it's if they released this character as the Golden Week character, then we could be like, okay, I get it. This character's worth pulling. But like, nah. With all that being said, like you like the video, subscribe to the club, we all gonna make it, and peace.